If there is a speech I watch more than 5 times, this is it, guys. This speech from Dr. Ismail will change your perspective on what's possible and what you are capable of as an individual. But majority of people live their life running from the discomfort of achieving great stuff for themselves and for their nation. In this speech, Dr. Ismail talks about the forces. This whole video is about the forces. If you have these forces as an individual, you can go into any industry and dominate. If you have these forces, there is no way the next generation would know your name, because you will make their lives easier. Clearly, everyone will want to attain these forces, but it's not easy like that. 90% of people watching this will probably not pick 4 of these forces. But guess what? You can work on it. Later in the video, you will even see me trying to force myself to take in one of these boxes. The biggest wealth transfer is not in money form, guys. The biggest wealth transfer is the transfer of knowledge to the next generation. Let's get started.
4 C's. Number 1, are you a compatriot? There's so many successful Gambians outside of Gambia. I'm not questioning whether or not they're compatriots or not, but I'm also saying there's different brands of Gambians who are willing to come and build and create and shake the table and challenge the status quo, force people to improve what Gambians are getting. All of us may not live to see the fruits of what we do. It's for the next generation.
It's for the next generation. Being a patriot means loving your nation to the extent you will be willing to do things for the nation that won't benefit you directly. Doing it for people who you may not see, people who may not know you and congratulate you for your action, but still doing it for them. Imagine if our grandparents sat there and say, we cannot stop slavery or we cannot fight for our freedom. If we try to do so, we will get jailed or killed. We might still be enslaved right now, but no, they think in long term and did it for us, even though that makes their life messier, and they didn't enjoy nor witness the fruits of their labor. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create good times. Then it repeats. Underdevelopment occurs when people in charge stop thinking long term and only focus on securing a good life for themselves and making so their only priority is filling their pockets. Being a patriot is an interesting thing I have been thinking about in my own case, because whenever I'm chatting with friends and they start complaining about Nawek and Gambia stuff, I will simply tell them, boy, you and your word cannot control that. What you can control is getting yourself rich and buying a home in a comfortable neighborhood where you will not depend on Nawek for electricity and water. Is that patriotism or not? Or is that selfish? Let me know in the comment section. But let me justify my point. At the end of this speech, Dr. Ismail said, and I paraphrase, but let our impatience not be channeled through only vocal expression. We have to channel it through action. My philosophy to people who want to develop the nation through vocal expression is that vocal expression is good for the society and public figures to add that little bit of pressure to people in charge, but it's not good as an individual. You don't and should not become the victim as an individual. Being a patriot is a team game, but also an individual game. You cannot help your country if you don't help yourself at the first place. You cannot pour for others that which you don't have. Let's move on to the next interesting C.
Are you capable? And the reason why I added compatriotism first is you could be Gambian, but you're not capable. That's also an honest conversation us as young people have to instill. Are you capable? Do you have the capacity to execute what it is that you're doing? Capability is something you should be very honest about. If you want to go into media, how many hours are you dedicating as a young person on YouTube learning everything about the media business? I was a science student. I did chemistry, undergraduate degree. I have a doctor of pharmacy. I'm running a business. In the beginning, I did not have the capacity to run a business. I realized that. I went and sought out knowledge. Education is really free. Formal education, you could pay an institution, but there are 6-7-year-old Rwandese learning how to code from the age of 9 years old that are making more than any government official in the Gambia right now, and they never leave their house. How long you've been somewhere does not matter. What impact do you have while you're there is the only thing that matters. Which is why as young people, we need to start coming in and just shaking the table. It's not violence. Shaking the table is defiance, showing that you're capable. If somebody doesn't want to give you a seat at the table, build your own table, if you know how to do it.
If you want to be in the top 10% of high achievers, you have to be willing to do things that 90% of people are not willing to do. I'm talking long work days, uncertainty about whether it's going to work, but still pursuing it, discipline, focus, being patient with results, but impatient with actions. In order to become part of the top 10% of achievers, you have to be capable, and in order to be capable, you have to undergo a training, learning and iterating, trying, failing and struggling. That's what it takes to be capable of doing great stuff. You cannot skip this part and become successful. You know what happens if you skip this part? You return back to the bottom. What happens to people who win the lottery? You just need to go through it. You just need to go through it. Do you want to become a professional footballer? Are you willing to train 3 hours a day, every day for 3 to 5 years with uncertainty that it's ever going to work and there is no guarantee you will ever become a professional footballer? I used to be a footballer as everyone else, but just realizing what it takes to become a pro, I said nope, I don't think I can become a professional footballer, because I'm not willing to meet the requirements. And then realizing what it takes to become a great entrepreneur, I realized I cannot be a footballer and become a great entrepreneur. So I just need to let one go and put all my effort in one thing, even though that doesn't mean success is guaranteed. I watched a recent Cristiano Ronaldo interview and he said,
I give you the map. You are willing to do that?
Yeah.
It's the main point, because everyone wants to be Cristiano, but I give you the map. You think you will do it that? It's difficult. It's
the discipline.
The discipline is the most difficult thing, not only in sports, but in life.
What this basically means is that even if you know how to become Ronaldo, it's not enough. You need to be willing to do what he does on daily basis, day in, day out. If you want a 4-point GPA, we all know how to achieve it. When I was in Nusrat, there was a senior teacher who came to the assembly and started explaining a story of a boy who got 9 A's in WAEC exam, achieving a result that has never been achieved in the history of this country. And still now, no one even gets close to that level of excellence. The teacher said the boy's parent told him that wherever the boy went, he will carry a piece of paper with him and just be reading, even in the toilets. That's his life. You want to become a YouTuber? Well, are you willing to learn video editing, basic storytelling / script writing, talking to the camera, and filming yourself in public in some cases? Spending dozens of hours in creating content with no guarantee that anyone is going to watch your video. And yet still you continue making videos months after months until people start to discover you. You are not seeing the amount of results you want in whatever thing you do because you are not well developed enough to have that amount of success and responsibility. Improving just needs doing in order to grow. And in most creative industry, you learn by doing. So you need to give yourself permission to look like a loser at the start and improve. What most people see is the finished product. They don't see behind the scenes. Before, whenever I see someone crossing it with their thing, I will leave what I'm building and jump to that thing. It's more complicated and involves a lot more work than I think. And those are the times as an entrepreneur you realize everything is hard. Everything is hard in its own way. You just have to choose one thing and push through it. You cannot know you are capable unless you start doing that thing you always wanted. Come on, everyone has something that makes them excited and feel that anxiety in them. But you are justifying why you can't do it. I need money to do that. This person doesn't support me. Next month I will. Bruh, no one is coming to save you. Just try. At the beginning, you will feel like a loser and you will suck at it. But guess what? As time goes on, you will learn and improve and become better at it. In order to be a high performer in whatever you do, you actually have to accept one big challenge and go for it. There is always a price to pay if you want to achieve extraordinary results. We have the internet. You can learn whatever you want. Just identify what you are not capable of and learn it. This is also an advice to myself.
The next C, are you a credible human being? Credibility is your character. Credibility is if you tell somebody you're going to be there at a certain time, you're there at a certain time. Credibility is somebody knowing that if this person has to execute this task, I don't have to manage them. I don't have to beg them to do your job. Every single person, your amount of credibility dictates your future opportunities.
Naval talks about credibility in his podcast on how to get rich without getting lucky. Being credible is building a character that anyone can depend on you with no hesitation and doubt that you will rip them off or cheat them or lie to them. Naval says even if you are going into a business partnership, make sure your partner have the better end of the deal than yourself. And watch what will happen in the long run. In the long run, every business deal will pass through you and opportunities will flow through you. That's how our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam got rich and shared his wealth with unfortunate people. People came to him with deals and opportunities because he was a trustworthy person. And through that, he met his wife, Khadija.
That's why the last C is you have to have courage. Courage is not being afraid. The biggest myth about most leaders, most people that society may deem successful, we are more afraid than the average human being. We have more panic attacks trying to run an organization in the Gambia than the average human being. But it's that courage. Courage is not you don't feel fear. Courage is acting in spite of your fear. Most people have some of the brilliant ideas, but they don't have the courage to take the first step. And going back to where I started, in your 20s you have an idea, which is the greatest manifestation of God. Human beings are closest to God because He gifted us with an ability to create something out of nothing. Everybody has dreams, manifestations. You could visualize something. Do you guys ever wonder why you? Why did He sleep at night or meditating or praying and God planted the idea, not in me, but in Him? It's a responsibility. Ideas, our imagination is a preview of life's coming attractions. Albert Einstein said that. Having an idea is a responsibility from God, especially if you could create something that make other people's lives better. That to me is the strongest form of worship than anything else. Creation, having the courage to create in spite of fear, in spite of difficult circumstance. Yes, Gambia is hard to do everything, but it's worth it, because if we don't do it, who's gonna do it? Courage is a revolution, guys. You're going to war with yourself, because the same self that tells you this is something in me, Lila Buga, this is my compass. And most people, they're even scared to share it with their loved ones, their best friends. Because he's gonna laugh at me. It happens. A lot of dreams have died because people were not courageous enough to act.
Courage. Acting despite of fear. Fear is the biggest dream killer ever to exist. Most people don't execute their ideas because they fear what other people might think. Most people don't ask for what they want or need because they fear rejection or being judged. Whenever I start feeling this kind of fears, I remind myself of a quote from Alex Homozy. A friendly reminder, in 3 generations, everybody who knew us will be dead, including the opinion of people who stop you from pursuing what you really wanted all along. Everybody feels fear, but don't let it stop you from becoming great in this exciting world.
Gambia has had many opportunities to change, but people were not courageous to act. So courage as young individuals should be part of our DNA as Gambians. We have to have the courage to compete in any sector. And not only compete, dominate. Other countries, there's sectors that you go, they will tell you, don't waste your time. You're not going to succeed. This is theirs. What sector in the Gambia could we say that? Gambia is for anybody, but yeah, a lot of people who are anybody, who are not compatriots, are taking advantage of the state of the country. When are we going to fight? And not fight violently, Fight is creating value that's superior. That's not Gambia. Fight is being so intentional about excellence because we have courage, we're credible, we have the capacity, and we love country. That people have to know, even if you want to exist with me, you better be ready to bring your A game every single day. If not, I am going to dominate you for us. Every iteration, slow improvement, Kaizen, wealth creation is not taboo. We have to have the courage to want to not only build our country, but keep the wealth in our country. And you have to be intentional about it. So from a youth promotion business standpoint, whatever you do it to not only create wealth, do it to dominate, do it to add value, do it to hold each other accountable. Where if somebody is not ready to be courageous enough, if they're not credible, if they don't have the capacity, and they don't love country, they should not deserve to be in your space. And we have to be vocal about it. Mayo den ute, we're made for a different cloth. Not everybody could go.
One of my mentors has this saying, the harder my works get, the happier I get. Which doesn't make sense on the surface. Why the F will I want my work to be hard? But let me explain. Whatever you do, you don't want it to be easy to the general public. It might be easy to you, but not to people who are starting out. Because if what you are doing is easy to everyone, then you will have a lot of competitors and your business will shrink over time. He doesn't say, poor me, this job is really hard. He says, poor everyone who is going to compete with me. Because they won't be able to do it for long and they won't be able to keep up with me.
And like most things, and you're in a state as any human being in the world, from about 21 to 41, everything you do, every person you bring in your space is like an elevator. They're either gonna go up with you or gonna bring you down. Choices. I know you love country. I know you have some kind of capacity or you're in your journey of building capacity. I know you're a credible human being. And most importantly, I know you're courageous enough to tell the world that I am not only a Gambian poet, I'm a world-class poet. We run a global PR agency that happens to be in Gambia. That's why when I was setting up my company, I didn't want it to say anything Gambian or African. Global. The world is ours. Dex could move to Venezuela and start Dex. That's how we should think. Export our excellence. Because if you have those 4 C's, any place in the world is your playing ground. So even think about it when you're building brands. Don't think Gambia. You're limiting yourself. You're giving yourself a ceiling when God maybe doesn't have a ceiling for you. Be intentional about what you put in the word. Because once you put it on paper, it means something. That's the first contract that you sign with yourself. Because we have an opportunity to change our country, guys. We're behind, but we're so small. Small things have massive impact. And we're young as a country, 65 years old. USA is 400 years old. Gambia is more advanced at 65 than USA was. We're just impatient, but it's good. But let our impatience not be channeled through only vocal expressions. Action.